Today is a story about a seemingly ordinary guy who just returned from school. As soon as he entered the house, he wanted to invite his mother to cook something for dinner. But this is just his dream because since he was a child, he has always been home alone. Today was his birthday. All that was on the table was money and a note on which it was written that he should eat well. Mother of the Year. What else can I say? Of course, the boy understands that his parents are trying hard at work for his sake, but without people in the house, it was endlessly cold. Despite all this, the main character still had a strong Hyun. There was some strange program on TV. It showed some handsome blonde man who had just been recognized as a real man. No matter how strange it was thanks to this that the main character was able to fill the loneliness in his heart. Of course, he was simply obsessed with the history of his favorite character, and even read comics with him on the way to school. The main character's name is Kim Kwang-min, and he once again does not hear what his friends tell him. It seems that they are already accustomed to the fact that he constantly reads his book and still invited him to play in the computer club. He knew little about computer games and he didn't want to just go, but his friends were shocked that he was once again reading this old Japanese manhwa. Of course, there is nothing wrong with him reading manhwas, but he rereads the same book every day. Isn't he tired of it himself? In his opinion, it was too difficult to make friends with his peers because his hobby was very different from others. The only problem was that he was not an otaku. For those who don't know, an otaku is a person who shows too much interest in something. In fact, the story that the main character is reading is a story about loneliness and romance, the end of masculinity. The main character who does not belong to society and does everything alone. A person who is scarier than everyone else on the outside, but at the same time values fidelity more than anyone else. This was exactly the person he admired, Hyun. It was an old Japanese manhwa about bikers getting into fights on the street. Friends thought that he was still a child, but for Kim, this character became a real idol whom he admired. But while he was fooling around, a girl came up behind him and scared him. You can immediately see a real Sigma who is afraid of women. She was just wondering what the main character was doing in the middle of the street all alone. What the hell, he didn't even know. It turns out that they study in the same class. It's not surprising that the boy didn't even recognize her because, in honor of the start of the school year, all the classes were mixed together. Well, the main character himself just constantly sat and read his manhwa, so he didn't even pay attention to what was happening. Still, he tried to pretend as if he knew her, but this idiot doesn't even know the girl's name. It seems that he doesn't live a real life at all. She only thought about what Kim had just said, but he himself asked her not to pay attention because it didn't make sense. Still, the lady decided to repeat that same phrase, "Men don't show weakness," and it seems she did it just fine. The main character himself simply begins to panic because some woman heard his battle cry. Still, she laughs at him because he looked quite funny, but he asked her to wait because it was all a secret. In such cases, she asks if he likes manhwas. He cannot say this and tries to somehow get out. Suddenly, the girl simply said that she thinks this is a very cool hobby, and in fact, she also likes this manhwa. This was the first meeting with her. The girl's name is So-ha-eun, and it turns out that she is an otaku who loves this manhwa much more than he does. Thanks to the fact that they had common hobbies, they quickly became friends and eventually began to spend a lot of time together. But still, the boy couldn't keep up with her pace, although he didn't think there was anything bad about it. In addition, she was an excellent student who gradually began to help him with his homework. This was useful for him because his studies were very bad. Ultimately, thanks to much effort, the main character also began to study well. Quite a lot of time passed, and in the end he managed to enter exactly the university that he wanted. Of course, his girlfriend acted with him. She was so glad that he still tried to act with her. But it would have been much cooler if he had entered the faculty of Japanese literature like her. It's a pity that he ended up changing the faculty. Although he chose the faculty of physical education in order to become a real man, she believes that he will succeed. If suddenly he has a club that he wants to go to, then she will definitely go with him. Of course, he hadn't changed since his school days and went to the Japanese manhwa club, but he wasn't very interested in that. Now he better think about where to go himself, because he doesn't want to just read manhwas until school starts. When suddenly a voice told him to come to his senses, it seemed that the voice was familiar to him. It seemed like it was something that could awaken him. An incredibly exciting character and a cool image is that masculinity that is constantly full of romance. No matter how strange it was, he felt all this precisely in that volleyball club in which there were only girls. That's how he immediately joined the volleyball club, only he was scolded for not taking the ball. It was a lady named Lou, and she is the captain of the volleyball team. She was clearly not happy that the main character played so badly. She accepted him because he was her classmate, but he had absolutely no athletic abilities. She was terribly infuriated by such guys, and he himself thought that playing volleyball was much more difficult than he thought, and also this tense atmosphere. She was exactly the same freshman as he, but at the same time she was already playing volleyball professionally, Perhaps that's why he didn't reach her level. Realizing that he had no talent for gaming, he decided to start with cleaning and helping others. In the end, contrary to his expectations, he started with something strange. But at the same time, he was firmly convinced that if he worked hard, over time he would be able to grow and be recognized. And now the guy has a real goal to one day become as covered as Hyun. Be that as it may, the first academic year has already ended. The girls were discussing guys and who was dating whom, but it seemed that the friend was not at all interested in relationships. Her friends did not understand why she had such an opinion, because a person should appear who would love her. The girls even joked about the fact that she was dating the main character, but it seemed that she didn't even consider him a man. And at that moment, he realized that being just a nice guy is completely unprofitable. You need to become a man with bad taste. In the end, he realized that absolutely nothing had changed in a whole year. Why the hell did he suffer so much all this year? It's crap. He was completely sure that it was all his fault. From the moment he entered here, he remained a loser. What a coincidence, the best woman from this manhwa was just sitting next to her and called the boy to her. Still, she was worried that something was wrong with him. What had happened? But after the whole story, there was only laughter throughout the whole house. He actually told her to answer and not neigh like a horse. Somehow she stops laughing and says that she will tell everything now. Let's start with why the main character even went to this volleyball club, because there are many other clubs. When the boy first entered university, he wanted to change, but now he doesn't look the way he would like. When suddenly the lady decided to say that very phrase, because real men do not show their weaknesses. At first he couldn't even remember what this phrase was, but it reminds him that this is a replica of his favorite character. If suddenly he really wants to be different from others, then let him just do it. Let him become the very Hyung he admired so much. Damn it, now he's talking about how everything happened exactly like that. Until now he didn't have any goal. He did not try to find another way out, although in the end it turns out that the decision was in his hands all along. All he had to do was train hard to become the best version of himself. Even his girlfriend was simply shocked that he was still training. The holidays are coming soon, so she wants to relax with him, especially since it was too hot. But the main character immediately refuses because he doesn't have time to rest. He still needs to reach his goal. He wanted to tell me more, but suddenly he noticed something strange and decided to ask. It turns out that the girl decided to take care of him and bought various protein supplements because he won't be able to build muscle if he eats only noodles. She also bought hair dye so that he could look as much like his favorite manhwa character as possible. They already look like husband and wife. Let them just leave everything she bought in the bag. She was just interested in checking something. The main character also agreed. Most likely she understands this much better than him. There was also some kind of book, and several months had already passed since the guy began his training. Since then, he has worked very hard and trained literally every day. He reread his favorite manhwas every day, so his favorite character's speech style was just perfect. And after a while, our cute little guy turned into a real Giga Chad. It seems that he really was able to turn into his favorite character from the manhwa. Still, he became a beefy man. The manhwa that his friend left was very useful, and yet it was different from the one he bought in Japan. There was only one problem because in this story, Hyun looked completely different and his mannerisms were completely different from usual. Our main character has absolutely nothing similar to the life of his favorite character, who constantly steals other people's women and generally does whatever he wants. The girl herself didn't understand what could have gone wrong, because she brought this book at his request. On the contrary, he believed that it was very useful for him. It is likely that the girl did not know at all what she was buying, but he still pretended that it would help him play volleyball in the future. But now our boy can say one thing with confidence. He still managed to become the same bad guy he always admired. Of course, the members of the volleyball club were simply shocked after he appeared a few months later. Now he became much more confident, although everyone thought that he had simply left the club. Of course, the others didn't even recognize him, and now the time has come to show what he is now capable of. Still, they even began to be somewhat afraid of him, but even after so much training, he failed to become a real man. On the contrary, this constantly led to various misunderstandings because he still remained a good guy, just now pumped up. He even came here as a Japanese hooligan, but everyone just thought he was strange and thought it was ridiculous. Even now they called him cute and asked if he ever held hands with a girl. This blonde said that she could be the first one he would hold hands with. Damn it, nothing has changed at all. The situation has only become worse than before because now he is a ridiculous, kind jock. Even my friend just laughed at what happened and said that she was terribly sorry. Complete despair, and what should he do now in such a situation? A complete idiot. A friend decided to give advice so that he would pay attention to his character, because what he has inside is what he shows on the outside. It is for this reason that he cannot accept the image of his favorite hero, because they have completely different characters. And what is this fool even saying? After all, he tried so hard to become a better person, it seems that Kim didn't even notice how he attacked his friend in a fit of anger. After all, he tried so hard from his appearance to his manner of speech, so why the hell can't he be the same? It seems that he is having a real nervous breakdown, and now the girl won't just leave here without a fight. But still, over time, she asked him to stop because the blows became more painful. She realized that it was too hard for him now. Damn, the guy even asked for forgiveness for what he did because he lost control and almost sent her to the next world. Although she thought that this was also useful, because right now he looked like his favorite character, but only now. The boy didn't understand what she meant at first, but she explains that he managed to create the image of a truly bad guy. And now she has a question whether he really even read the manhwa that she gave him. Now this is turning into a real game, so let the kid just try to be the tough guy a little longer. Wait, what the hell does she even mean? But her friend was completely sure that such a practice would only benefit him. He didn't understand why she decided to choose him, and she generally knows what it means, of course. Her friend understands everything. Just needed to steal a girl from a person who likes this girl, how she agreed. I have no idea. In general, it was similar to the manhwa he read, so it's worth trying to get into the role of the character. Did the main character read everything? At first, it was a book for fans, and then it was turned into a regular story for school children. In general, the boy completely agrees with what she said, but it's hard for him to believe that the Hyun he became really had such an image. Even if this was true, he is not going to just steal someone else's girlfriend. How can he even do such a terrible thing because such things as romance are much more honest? God, what a bore he is. She suddenly appeared in front of him. She was completely sure that the man he was talking about was terribly boring. Didn't he understand that girls like bad guys? If he is a real man, he must understand that sometimes you have to act like a beast. You can't just be a good guy, because everything is always taken away from them. Didn't he hear anything similar from the girls who were in the volleyball section? A man should be able to get what he wants. Let's better not remember this. It seems that she said something about stealing a girl, but the main character doesn't remember that she had a boyfriend. And what does he even say? Because they are always together and she definitely didn't have a boyfriend, then the main character has even more questions about what the hell she's talking about. Suddenly, a sad moment begins because the girl has had too many problems lately. That was her problem. Her friend constantly went alone to university and home, and it seems that someone decided to reduce her loneliness. This man is her sunbae, who is considered a very kind guy, but there was something that seemed strange to her. The boy began to show attention to her as if he liked her, and over time their relationship began to develop into something more personal. For example, if you tell him not to distract her from her studies, then he will definitely appear in the library at that very second. When he said that she needed help in the shop where her grandmother worked, he immediately went and helped in the shop. In short, a very strange guy. At one point, she was already tired, and she told the sunbae to leave immediately and not come here anymore. She has a boyfriend, and if he continues, she will have to tell everything. He's kind of really strange. He knows that she doesn't have any boyfriend and that he will continue, but in society, he has a reputation as a good guy, so no one will believe her. Over time, she simply could not stand it anymore, and told the main character about everything. She simply could not understand how he managed to find out all this information about her. In such cases, Kim decides that it is necessary for him to go talk to him, and then he will no longer approach her. But in her opinion, the problem cannot be solved so easily. Rather, it was necessary to do something to become invisible to him, but she has no ideas on how to do this. She doesn't exist. That's why she asked the main character to help, but he doesn't understand what he can do. He will have to do exactly the same as his favorite character, just steal her from the sunbae. If suddenly he looks exactly the same as now, then the sunbae will definitely be broken. Therefore, she suggests that they practice together to make him become a character from a manhwa. In the next shot, we see how she has already returned home, and of course the sunbae decided to see her off. Of course, he understood perfectly well that she lived here. He was just waiting for the moment until she showed him the house herself. The girl thought that they needed to talk. Of course, he agrees because he also has something to say. Maybe they will go into the house and talk face to face. Apparently, climbing the stairs without an elevator is too difficult for him. They needed to go up to the 3rd floor, so there was quite a bit left. He starts acting like a real jerk, and she asks what the hell he's doing. I wish the main character would appear soon, because it is becoming simply terrible to tolerate such terrible behavior. And now they are finally home, and what did the beautiful lady want to tell her sunbae? Of course, she can't just start talking about everything like that, or she's just stalling for too long. He asked for forgiveness because a real man should speak first. Appa didn't think about it. Of course, what he is saying is complete nonsense, that most likely it was too hard for her to wait for that moment until he came to her and played volleyball. All that remains is to pretend as if everything was as planned. She simply agrees with everything he says and decides to get to the point, the reason why she called him. Of course, she herself is not going to wait any longer, because today is the day when their past relationship will end. In the end, the boy really begins to think that they will play volleyball. He even brought sports protection with him, by the way. She invited someone. That's when the main character came. She said that she finally had a guy whom she considers a real man. This is roughly the face that guy had when he saw our Giga Chad. She called him here to introduce him. He really got used to the role and asks if this is really the bastard she was talking about. The main character warned that from now on, only he will play volleyball with her. And if suddenly something does not suit him, then he should quickly leave here. Now our boy is just sitting and thinking about what to do next, because he could only see such situations in manhwas. By the way, that guy really looks at him as if he's taking the girl away from him. It even became awkward. Of course, he was simply horrified by this situation, because the girl was like a real childhood friend to him. Be that as it may, the situation still needed to be resolved, so he continues to pretend that he is meeting with his girlfriend. Of course, he deliberately arranges everything exactly so that he definitely does not have the idea that he wants to date her. He even asked her to tell her sunbae how much she enjoyed playing volleyball with her new boyfriend. The sunbae himself is now just sitting in shock and doesn't understand what to do in such a terrible situation. And she started talking about how the main character is simply a master of sports in volleyball. This was quite enough. So the boy decided to tell him directly that he should stay away from now on if he was not going to find problems for himself. Well, he starts having a panic attack because he definitely didn't think that they would start training while he was in the room. Here, the girlfriend is already starting to act. The boy is a little shocked, but this is all part of the plan. This performance is almost over, so let him play the role of her boyfriend just a little longer. The sunbae is almost gone. He's just trembling with anger, and the girl said that everything should continue exactly as in that manhwa. She simply warned that as his girlfriend, she would play volleyball with him as much as he wanted, so even Kim was shocked by such a statement. They love each other, so this is no longer a problem for her. But it seems that she is already doing it on purpose to please the main character. In the end, everything was heading towards our couple finally playing volleyball, and now our main character is clearly in shock that everything turned out so cool. Noticing how much he was worried, the girl decided to joke again that he was feeling too tense. Everything was completely normal, because it was only her fault. Damn it, everything didn't exactly go according to plan because their story was supposed to end with the guy just leaving, and now he has to actually play volleyball. Although she doesn't care at all about what's happening, it feels like she did everything on purpose so that her friend would become a man and now play volleyball with him. In her opinion, absolutely any girl would have no choice but to simply start fighting against him, although there was absolutely no chance of winning. She was completely sure that just a little of her acting skills, and soon the sunbae would have no choice but to run away from here. All this was too different from what this idiot sunbae was used to seeing, and now he falls to his knees in complete despair because he understands that he cannot do anything. She decides to add fuel to the fire and says that if he were the same as the main character, he would also have a chance to play volleyball. But now she has a boyfriend and she simply cannot choose another opponent. It is for this reason that all he can do is sit on the sidelines and watch the match, even if he essentially sits there. For now, the lady will simply try to win. Even the main character was a little shocked that she could play so cool. The acting doesn't end there, and she asks how her boyfriend is because she's trying so hard to become a worthy opponent. Damn, the girl is using really very strong techniques against him. It seems that soon it will be quite difficult for him to fight against her. It was all just incredibly cool, but he still didn't like the atmosphere. It seemed like that sunbae was doing something strange. What is this bastard even thinking about, and why the hell is he still here? Let him stop looking and quickly leave. Why is he kneeling in the middle of the room? Apparently, it didn't bother him at all that they were playing volleyball right now, in which case he would need to use his acting skills to the maximum. Well, he used this technique, decided to turn on the real man mode and show who the real boss of the rocking chair is. In his opinion, it didn't matter at all that someone was watching their volleyball game. In any case, they had to try better. He didn't care at all about what was happening, because he would try to play until this bastard simply left the room. The next chapter begins with the fact that our blonde understands that there is absolutely no point in retreating, and they will definitely have to play volleyball. All he wanted was for that sunbae to just give up and leave, only he sat all this time in some kind of incomprehensible shock and definitely had no intention of leaving. It seems that he was just about to admit that he really had to leave this place when suddenly the girl decided to change the script. She simply started smiling and stated that the main character could play volleyball against her whenever he wanted. She understood perfectly well that the situation was supposed to be exactly like this anyway, so she was ready to change her sports uniform and continue the game. But the main character did not expect that it would come to this. Why the hell is this bastard still continuing to watch them play volleyball? It seems that he himself no longer understands what is happening here. let him immediately turn away because no one allowed him to watch the volleyball game. Of course, he does, as the main character said. He was completely sure that he better not just let him watch the volleyball game, or else their plan would fail. But why the hell was he still here? And Kim himself has long turned on the Real Sigma mode, which plays volleyball whenever he wants. Even his friend was shocked that he could do that. The main character didn't care at all that these might be strange methods to get rid of the sunbai, but they would definitely work, and this idiot would never appear again. He continued to play the role of a damn bad guy who just wants to play volleyball, and the sunbai stood on the side and thought that it would be cool to watch the match from the outside. It becomes simply unbearable to listen to all these terrible sounds coming from the site and not play, and what should he do in this situation? The atmosphere was just great, but should they really start the match because initially they just wanted that idiot to stop stalking her? Suddenly, a friend warned that they could play volleyball. After all, they were dating, so let him show her the best match in history. But the main character didn't know what to do at all, because they had been friends since they were children and he couldn't just play volleyball like that. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that, because the lady herself would also help him play. All the same, for him this is some kind of madness and he could not believe that he was really participating in all this. How could it be so easy to play volleyball with a friend, although she herself began to help him make passes? It was also quite difficult for the lady, because it was so easy to play against her friend, and in such an environment it was difficult. But it's okay because they need to make sure that the sunbai never appears in her life again. She just said that everything was completely normal. Let the main character just start the game with slow passes, and she would try to return them. It seemed to her that she might go crazy soon, so the match needs to start as soon as possible, but he again has doubts. Of course, their game is interrupted simply by the terrible scream of this guy who asked them to stop the match because he was giving up. He understood the fact that he simply could not defeat them now, because even in such a situation he wanted to play volleyball himself. Like a complete loser, he admitted that they defeated him. He's going to just leave and doesn't say anything, but it seems like a couple of curses were said in their direction along the way. As a result, the guy slammed the door and started talking some nonsense about the gilded sun. Even the main character was shocked that he so suddenly decided to just run away from here. Now the girl can just calmly exhale because that idiot has finally left. How calm her soul immediately became. The main character asked if it was hard for her to play her role, but all this time she didn't pretend, but told everything as it is. When suddenly he says that in fact it would be possible to play the match, even though that guy just left. The boy was simply shocked by such a proposal, but she only said that he did a great job when he deceived him like that, and therefore deserved a reward in the form of a match. In such cases, the girl decides to clean up first and then the match will continue. Next, we are shown the actions that take place in the evening. The girl was simply sitting calmly on the sofa and reading a book. It was the same book that the main character gave her, but why is she so sad? Although it is completely understandable why they never managed to play volleyball, at that time she did not even expect that he would be able to play his role so cool. At that moment, it was just incredibly cool to fight against him, especially when the first pass was made. They also played in front of a sunbae who liked her all this time. I wonder how it all looked from the outside. Although she thinks that there is absolutely nothing to brag about, because it's a terrible shame how they could start playing volleyball at such a moment. In any case, be that as it may, she believes that this is simply incredibly exciting, and she would really like to repeat that exciting match. That training was simply not enough for her, and now the lady wants to try a real match against the main character. It seems that right now someone decided to call her. The next day, the main character was so worried because he wasn't completely sure that he was doing the right thing that he came here again, because yesterday he didn't even call her. Even though yesterday it was all an act, he was still terribly ashamed of everything that happened. The girl was surprised that he had already arrived because it was still quite early, but he thought that today was the weekend and there was nothing special about it. She doesn't care at all that he came earlier because she was waiting for him so much, and he has questions about why the hell she was already in volleyball uniform. She didn't see anything strange in this because the girl always walks around her house in exactly this form, but what else remains for the main character? He agrees and goes into the apartment. The lady simply brought him a can of drink and asked him to warn her if he suddenly needed something, but he didn't understand why the hell she was acting so strange. So also her image, because her friend had never been like this, as if after yesterday's training something had fundamentally changed. But what? And then she still notices that he constantly thinks only about volleyball. Does he really constantly remember that they trained yesterday? Of course that he denies everything. Just yesterday she managed to play volleyball right in front of the sunbae, but in the meantime, our main character finds himself in such interesting situations. Our video ends. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel and like so that the new part comes out as soon as possible.